Okay, welcome to this presentation. I'm sorry we couldn't have last week. There were just so many things that needed to be done. So today we'll be discussing communication in marriage. The truth is the number of things that can come against the marriage are myriads. From communication, which is about one of the commonest, to sexual intimacy issues, to patterns in the sense that the way our parents do marriage, except we're intentional, chances are we'll repeat the same, to finances, to even parenting. Sometimes it will just be an issue that comes against the marriage. So today we're aim to address communication. Now, I know you probably heard it, as I've heard it many times too, that you deal with you deal in your marriage as you would a business transaction. I think that is just part of the truth. I don't think it's the entire truth. If you start marriage dealing with it as a business transaction, perhaps it's a place to start, but it's not a place to stay permanently. Because business transactions, you need to book appointments. It's like a tussle. Someone who has the best point wins, and you don't come into a business transaction discussing your emotions. It's just facts, no feelings. So in marriage, you are going for something more than a business transaction. You're going for oneness. You're going for every conversation. It should be for the ultimate good for which God brought you together. That the two of you will be one. It's not to win the point. It's not to win the argument. When you win the argument, you've actually lost, because you've lost the partner that God called you into a partnership with. So even if it's the other person's points of view that gets the day, it should still be that you go about the conversation with the ultimate aim of seeing to it that your partner, your husband, your wife feels closer to you. Now let's talk about that oneness. Let's look at Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 to 28. So here I have it. It says, "Then God said, let us make man in our own image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." Verse 27 says, "So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them." Please observe that. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply," and so on and so forth. Here Eve had not been made, but Adam that was made was referred to with the plural pronoun them. Male and female he created them. Eve was in Adam in Genesis chapter 1. That's for the husband to also know that if God had not separated Eve out of Adam, your wife would be the part of you that is inside you. I know it sounds like a stretch, but really I'm praying that God would cause you to understand this even more than I do. Your spouse who stands in front of you that you have an argument with is a part of you expressed in the opposite gender, in a different gender. Is not another human being. That is the ultimate oneness that God is calling us to. This created Eden. You would see where Eve was then brought out of Adam. Let's go to Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2 verse 18 to 25. Okay? After God had made all the animals and told Adam to name all of them, and he said, but for the man there was not found a help meet or a partner that was compatible to him. And then in verse 18, "And the Lord God said, it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him." So out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast, and so on and so forth. And then in verse 20, Adam gave names to all of those animals. Still in verse 20 again, it says, but for Adam there was not found a helper comparable to him. Now we go to verse 21. It says, and the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept, and he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. Then the rib which the Lord God had taken from man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. Verse 23 says, and Adam said, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Verse 24 says, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and the two of them shall become flesh. Perhaps if God had not closed that rib and had left it gaping, we would be more acutely aware of the fact that this individual standing in front of me was actually brought out of me. But maybe God in his wisdom also closed it so that that gaping hole, that gaping wound would not be easily accessible to the devil. You understand what I mean? So such that people can take advantage of the man, his needs, his wants, his vulnerability so exposed that anybody can take advantage of that. So what I want to first establish in this communication in marriage is, we go into communication in marriage much more than a business transaction. It is, for every conversation we have, we are going for oneness. If we are going for oneness, then it should be that the communication we have maritally should be effortless, should be continuous, should be all-encompassing. You know, when you talk to yourself, when you have those thoughts that are just running through your mind, you don't need to book an appointment and say, now I'm going to think about this, or need to schedule a time for when you have some self-conversation. It just goes. It's a continuous flow, except for times when you say, okay, now I really need to focus. I cannot afford to be distracted. And so if I'm really that attuned to myself like that, and I've been called to be one with my husband like that, conversation then should flow that easily. From phone calls to a non-sexual touch, a pat on the back, a hug, just a look, to just you are doing somewhere in one room and he's in another room and you're talking, to messages. It should just be an endless, easy flow back and forth. That doesn't mean you will not do life. You will do life by all means. But it is such that the door is wide open. You can come in at any time. And he can come in at any time and you can converse without needing to tiptoe around issues, being concerned, or that maybe it doesn't even happen at all, because there are homes where conversations do not even happen at all. And it will not happen because, one, sometimes it's programming. You know, I said patterns, the way we saw our parents do marriage or did not do it. So people subconsciously just imbibe that and assume we don't need to talk. Many times it's the husband who will imbibe that. We don't need to talk. So long as I show up for one and I make sure the needs are met in the house, what are we talking about? No, it's not like that. Because if Adam had done his conversation job properly, I don't think the human race would be where we are today. Thank God for the saving grace in Jesus' death for us. Because if you look at Genesis chapter 3, I mean, right after the fall now, the fall happened because the serpent came to converse, in my own opinion, with Eve. The whole thing de-escalated from the point of conversation. While the serpent came and was even asking questions, before Eve even decided to really inspect the fruit, before she even decided to pluck the fruit, or even take the first bite, I asked myself, where was Adam? What had happened to the communication in this marriage, so much so that the devil could have a leeway? Is it that Adam was completely silent, or he was missing in action? It may have been either of these two, it may have been both, but it is why the human race is in a fallen state. And I tell you, it's deadly in marriage. Deadly for the couple, and extremely dangerous for the generations that will come, because kids that are born out of a home where there's no conversation, even if it's a safe marriage, you know, marriages where they're like roommates, at least they just get the day going. children's school fees are paid, meals are made, the house is kept clean, and everybody goes to sleep in their corner. But there's no oneness. What happens in such marriages is eventually they grow into adults. The children that keeps them together go their separate way, and then the emptiness starts. But there was never any bond that was built while the children were growing, and that's when you have the woman may be going to take care of the children for 2 years of the grandchildren, and the man is left at home. Please, by all means, build the connection, build the oneness now that you're younger. Let's not allow responsibilities of life to be a distraction to the primary call of marriage, because marriage is a call, marriage is a vocation. It is out of it that we then see the fruit of children. So the children is the fruit, not the root. So if you take care of the fruit and ignore the root, it's only a matter of time. When the fruit then decide to take its own root, then the parent's tree is there standing naked, no fruit, no root. I mean, how do they sustain themselves? So parenting can be a blessing, but it can also be a serious distraction to the communication that needs to happen in your marriage. Even responsibilities of everyday life, the fact that you have to go to work, the fact that you run a business school becomes so exhausting that there's little or no time for conversation again. This our phone, It's about one of the greatest distractions of this generation, because couples can be on the bed at night, husband and wife, both parties are on their phone doing their own thing, or maybe the man is in the living room watching a football or the midnight news or the late night news, and the woman is on social media, and then really they are roommates, they are doing life, they live in the same house together, have the same home address, the same surname, but not more than that. So we have to be aware of distraction. And I wonder if Adam also got so distracted that the communication in that marriage died. I don't know. But it's a call to us to also be aware that the devil is subtle, is crafty, and he has no other agenda than to kill, destroy, and steal. So you want to really be mindful. Now, having established this fact, I would also want to bring to our awareness that by God's design, the husband and the wife are wired very differently. Women, we are nuanced, more nuanced, we are complex, we are intricate, we are detail-oriented, while the man is just one way, unidirectional. So the conversation could be that their son in school, the school fees that needs to be paid, the boy is probably being bullied by some classmates, the teacher spoke rudely to the woman, the bus driver was late, and just a number of things. And then as the wife, I come and I just load the man with all of that information. While the man knows that he needs to communicate, he can't deal with all of that. So he'll probably just pick the school fees, which looks like the most important thing to him, discuss around that, get that sorted out, and we not talk about the others. Now, the wife, it's not for you to feel like it's not interested in conversing. It's just the way it's been made up, it's the way it's been created. Men will think more like in waffle, so it's compartmentalized. Just one issue, let's deal with one issue and deal with it thoroughly. Women will think more like spaghetti. Everything is intricately interconnected. This, I find, could be a source of challenge, at least for someone who has been married for a while. Really, that is one major source of challenge for couples communicating, is for the wife to then know that my husband is a man. He's not my best friend. Best friend in the sense of conversation. Best friend in reality. Because I had to also learn to talk to a man. So your female friend may talk with you for 2 hours, for 3 hours, for 4 hours. If your husband does that, and it's not that you're dealing with an issue that is quite urgent or quite risky, I don't know, it doesn't sound too masculine. And thank God you made your husband very different. Because you will not want duplicates. You will not want your own duplicate as a husband, trust me. Okay, look at this piece of clothing I'm wearing. Imagine if I bought two pairs of it. That is 4 pieces. If it's not a uniform, you probably ask me what for. God also intends that we should have that variety so that iron can sharpen iron. So that we can learn to look at things from another perspective. Because God has the all-seeing eyes. So if He made us in His own image and likeness, we should be able to stretch beyond our natural composition. So as a wife, then the intention will be that I know the way my husband is wired. What are the most important things I want to discuss with him around this boy that has an issue in school? And then we discuss it in that light. If a woman will want the husband to listen to her and converse with her more often, she has to learn to communicate with a man. Keep the main things the main things. Don't let all conversations be emotionally charged. Don't go on and on and on for hours about something that is not urgent, life-threatening, or has serious implications in the future. I know emotionally, once you put emotions into some issues, it may seem like everything is a major issue. Really, it's not. Once the woman develops that internal resource within herself to be able to self-process things, could be by journaling, could be by prayer, could be by meditating, could just be by sitting with things and working through it herself. She would make herself or make the husband more willing to have conversations, because the conversations, when they happen, then they look like, or they feel like for the man that they are worth his time, not like a waste of time. That's one. Now for the husband, this is not an excuse to then say that all conversations should be straight to the point. God has called us to that oneness, and coming to be one with your wife means that you would need to make some sacrifices in order to be able to see life in your wife's point of view. So there are a number of conversations she will bring to you that she's not asking you to be the fixer. By genetic makeup, God has made the man to be the fixer. But the truth is, most conversations she just needs a hearing ear, like a sounding board. Your place as the husband then is just to listen and ask her what she feels about it. I know it may sound quite weird that you just have to listen and not fix it. I'm talking as a woman now. Some situations you just listen. The gift of time is what your wife is looking for. Now, if you feel, if I'm not going to do anything about it, so why am I listening to it? Remember Eve and remember the serpent. If your wife has 10 girlfriends and she goes to discuss this issue you refuse to listen to with those 10 girlfriends, I tell you, she will probably come with at least 5 serpentine suggestions. So do you want a replay of what happened at the fall in your house? Because it's not all of those suggestions that are in tune with what God says about marriage. It's not all of those suggestions that are in tune with the vision of the two of you for your marriage. So whatever sacrifice you will take to be able to listen without fixing once a while, it probably wouldn't be an everyday thing, and just listen and give that gift of time and undivided attention to your wife. It's priceless. It's a worthy investment in your wife. The truth is, at the end of the day, regardless of how big or how achieved your wife is, she's still a little girl at heart. And every woman, I want to believe, with a very few exceptions, which I don't know, wants to enjoy that gift of time. If your wife happens to be somebody who doesn't share emotional things with you, is all masculine and who is all macho and just gets things done herself, something is off. Something is off either because that's the way she's been programmed by parenting. So she grew up in a house where you go fix it yourself. You don't come crying to anybody. You make a mess, you take care of it, and nobody gets to see your mess. So there's the childhood programming that is playing out. Or if she came from a home where they express and discuss and share and everything, and then she married you, the lion of the tribe of the family's household, and you are such that she cannot share with you, she would also learn to condition herself to just take care of things and not to bother you. Now it will look like the family has peace. but you have actually lost an asset. Because the beauty of a flower is that the flower blooms and opens up, and you see the many expressions. Now, when your wife is not as expressive as God designed her, God did not make a mistake in making your wife like that. You will not get the versatility of the talents and the giftings God has deposited in this woman that was specially handcrafted for you. So whatever sacrifice you have to make to be able to just give that gift of time as a man, please give it. And as a woman, whatever sacrifice you also have to make to grow the inner strength to be able to take care of a number of some of those minor businesses yourself. Deal with your own emotional feelings about it, your thoughts around it, and not bore your husband so much, and keep the main things the main things. Please also do it so that way your husband is interested in conversing with you, because he knows when we have the conversation, it's worth it. We're coming towards oneness, towards closeness. Please, I would want to really encourage us to keep that in mind. Then the last thing is a family that has a marriage that has really grown in genuine conversation should be able to ask challenging questions. You should be able to dare to ask challenging questions. What do I mean? Your conversation could just be that you sit maybe once a month and maybe more frequent based on how your marriage is structured, and you sit and ask your spouse, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me, as in what can I fix? How have I hurt you in the past couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months? What are some ways I'm not showing up as my best self in this marriage? How do you think I can improve? And then you wait for the answer without having your own attack, your counter attack ready. It's not that she tells you and then, but you do this too, that's why I do this. Or he tells you and you say, if you have not done this too, I will not do this. That will just be like you're minimizing what your partner has brought out. Now, for the partner who gets asked such a question, please see it as a great honor, because that is like your spouse stripping naked and say, look at me and pick out all the things that is wrong with me. Now, remember that you don't have the all-seeing eye, and you may not have God's perception in every situation. So even when you come and address it from a place of love. Appreciate the vulnerability that your spouse is showing, and address it still with that thing running at the back of your mind, that we're having this conversation with the aim of becoming one. Not so that I can check some points, not so that I can get an apology, not so that I can show how better I am working at this marriage than it is. So I think it's a worthy assignment, if I may say, for anybody who is willing to really improve their marriage to try. So I think with that, I come to the end of this presentation, and as always, I pray your marriage continues to thrive and impact the world, and then you have the ripple effect of that even for generations to come. Thank you for staying with me. Have a wonderful day. Bye.